another exciting thing coming up. All right, so I wanted to share a reading with you from Mark Nepo on hospitality. We're starting our new series this month, which is Welcome the Stranger and Know God. And so the practice for the month is hospitality, sacred hospitality. So I wanted to share this. It begins with a quote from Ivan Illich. At heart, hospitality is a helping across a threshold. In Dante's Divine Comedy, Virgil lovingly guides Dante through the hell of denial and the purgatory of illusion, up to a passage of fire that Dante must cross alone, beyond which he becomes authentic. Earlier in history, Aaron guides his brother Moses off Mount Sinai back into the world, where the prophet must live what God has shown him. Even in Eden, if we can get past the punitive tellings we have heard so often, God ushers Adam and Eve to the threshold of the world, offering them the bruised and wondrous life of genuine experience that only those who are human can know. These are deep examples of spiritual hospitality, of helping kindred spirits further into their living. Truly, the most we can ask of others is for their guidance and comfort on the way, without imposition, design, or thought of reward. This is the hospitality of relationship. For family to help us manifest who we are in the world, for friends to bring us to the thresholds of realness, for loved ones to encourage us to cross barriers of our own making into moments of full aliveness. This is the honest welcoming to the table, without judgment of what we eat. Often the purpose of love is for others to guide us, without expectation or interference, as far as they can go, so that we might begin. It reminds me of a dream I had when ill, in which I came to the edge of a forest where the narrow, lighted spaces called to me. I stood there through many opportunities till an ageless woman of great resolve appeared, saying, "You can't start, I know, and if I were kind, I'd see you halfway in. But I am more than kind. You must enter alone. I will meet you on the other side." I'm not sure if that feminine presence was God or an angel or the peace of my own spirit, but its strong and gentle guidance was enough for me to make it through, and I never saw her again. But now, when I love by clearing paths that I and others may or may not take, I feel her in my hands. This speaks to one of our deepest callings of love, that special hospitality for the injured, the strong action of compassion that makes it possible for those in pain to heal themselves. It calls mysteriously and arduously for the clearing of confusion and the comfort of what is real. It is the way that we who have suffered can take our turn, lifting the head of whoever has fallen, bracing their exhausted neck to drink, knowing we can never drink for them. And so here's a little practice that he offers at the end, and feel free to close your eyes if you'd like while we do this little practice. So breathe deeply and meditate on one act of guidance and comfort you have received that asked for nothing in return. As you exhale, offer gratitude for that gesture of hospitality. As you inhale, feel your own capacity for guiding without interfering. Feel your own capacity for giving comfort without needing anything in return. As you enter your day, practice anonymous guidance by leaving a gesture of kindness or truth in the path of others. Leave half a sandwich where the homeless gather, or leave a book open to a passage of wisdom, or leave a flower on a bus seat. Help the world by leaving a trail of who you are.
But I love this idea that we can be sanctuaries for one another. And that's one way that you and I could think about practicing hospitality is to create space for those around us that provide sanctuary, right? That allows somebody to rest, and whatever their struggle may be and whatever their difficulty may be, to allow them to rest in our company, to rest in our presence. You know, this is the hospitality that's more than coffee and snacks, right? That I was talking, if you didn't see my sermon on YouTube that came out today, that's what I'm talking about. This hospitality that goes beyond charity or favor. The capacity for you and I to be sanctuary for one another, but to be that place, that kindred spirit, as Mark Nepo's reading pointed to, that can be the guide for somebody else. Or to be the one receiving the guidance, right? And it's one of the beautiful ways that you and I practice spiritual community, which is part of the deal, right? To be in a local spiritual center for living. The agreement we make in membership here, and often just in general, if you are just participating in the community and are not an official member, there's an agreement we make in membership, and when we decide that this is the spiritual community that I am going to participate in with intention. And that agreement is that I am going to show up with the intention to see the face of God in everybody I interact with. And I'm going to allow others to see me as that face of God. And it is not an easy practice, right? People get on our nerves. People are really weird. People say things that can't make sense. People talk too loud, they talk too quiet. They don't talk enough, they talk too much. They hug you, they don't hug you. All of this happens just on a Sunday. Yes. But when we do that with intention and agreement, that I am going to show up in my relationship with you, even if I don't know your name yet, with an intention to know you as divine. I'm going to lean in with curiosity rather than judgment. I'm going to lean in with celebration of who you are rather than being afraid of what makes us different. And because I do that, the possibility for sacred hospitality comes into form. The possibility of it, not the actual practice of it. It becomes possible for me to offer you divine hospitality because I have agreed to lean in with curiosity about your divine nature. And because I do that, now I can meet you. Now I can be a presence to you that welcomes the truth of who you are. Not who I want you to be, not who I wish you were, but who you are right now as is. This is the profound opportunity of spiritual community. Because then when you and I do that, because we have intention and we made agreement that I am looking for the face of God in you, and you are looking for the face of God in me, this practice of knowing God, of coming into contact with the divine in its lived expression as each other, that begins to grow itself in me. I begin to have a deeper experience of the divine in me through this practice, which then has the possibility of carrying itself out into the world through my life. Right? So this thing that I say a lot in prayer, if you've prayed with me much, I say it, and it matters because it ripples out into the world, making all the difference. That's what I'm talking about. That's the ripple. You become the stone in the pond that then ripples out, sending more love, more gratitude, right? More divinity out there. And it starts with a simple intention to see the face of God in one another. Here, with real people. And the cool part about it is you didn't choose these people, right? Because we get really comfy and cozy in our little circles of sameness, right? We do. We're just like, I'm going to go pick the people who vibe with me. I like their vibe. And what I'm really saying is they're like me. They don't always challenge me outside of my own comfort. I want some sameness because it's easier. It feels safer, right? Even if your sameness is marginalized, you might go seek that sameness on the margin. You might reject anything that's mainstream. Or the opposite, right? Anything that's on the margin is weird and I don't understand it and it makes me uncomfortable. Let me just stay right here in the middle, please. And the cool thing about spiritual communities, you don't get to decide who shows up on Sunday. And I'm going to ask them to turn me down so I can stop feeding back. Thank you. Or maybe the monitors could get turned off while I'm up here, you guys. So this idea that I am in choosing to be in an intentional agreement to see your divine nature, and I did not have anything to do with you and I coming into relationship. The desire to be in spiritual community is the thing that brought us together. And because that is the thing that brought us together, that's enough to practice hospitality. That's enough to practice and allow this community to grow your experience of divinity. And you can choose to do this anywhere. You can decide to set that intention when you go to the grocery store. You can decide to set that intention with your neighbors, who you also didn't choose. Right? This is where we get to push our own edges past what we think is possible for humanity. Because if you drank the Kool-Aid, you would believe it's impossible for us. Right? If you watch the news, you might believe it's impossible for us to practice sacred hospitality with strangers. However, sacred hospitality requires the stranger to be practiced. In Hinduism and much of India, there's the idea that the guest is God. Not your mom, not your spouse. The guest is God. So when you and I welcome the guest as the face of God, we have the possibility of knowing God a little bit better, of stepping outside of our comfort zone and seeing all the different ways that God shows up, beyond what we understand, beyond what we're used to, beyond what is recognizable sometimes to us. This is how you and I grow in our own spiritual lives. I was thinking about this as a practice that's sort of, both directions. It's a both and practice. That you can be so plugged in through your own whatever practices you get into, meditation and prayer and all the things, sound bathing, and be plugged into your own divine nature, have an actual felt experience, somatic experience of your divinity, that feeling of oneness. And because you're plugged in, it becomes really easy to see the face of God everywhere outside of you, right? In the strangers, in the grocery store, in the cashier, in the birds. So that is an inside-out way of practicing sacred hospitality. You get yourself plugged in. You become aware of your own divine nature. And because you do that, you inherently begin to know everybody's divine nature. Or you can go the other direction. You can feel so disconnected in your own relationship with God. You can feel out of sorts, right? And then you could choose to practice collecting evidence of the divine outside of you. You could choose to seek the face of God in everybody you come into contact with. You could choose to know the divine in all your interactions. And through that practice of sacred hospitality, you become reconnected to your own divine nature. Practicing outside in. And it works both ways. That's the profound beauty of being in relationship with one another, being in relationship with the aliveness of spirit. Mark Nepo said in the Sacred Hospitality reading that Clarissa shared with us, that the thing we can rely on each other for is to bring us more fully into living. This is spiritual living in community. We can rely on each other. We can get into agreement with each other to help each other come more fully alive as the truth of who we are. What a beautiful thing to gift one another. And so I want to practice that a little bit today. And my experience when we practice is that we have to kind of start where we are. And typically an inside-out practice I find to be really, really important because we have a lot in our culture outside of us that distracts us. So we're going to start inside out. And I want to share why on an even greater level in this moment in history. The Bhagavad Gita says, when you begin to recognize the face of God in everyone, you realize you can do no harm to anyone. So if you need a big why, there's your why. So we're going to start today's sound bath with a practice that I think is really useful. And you can find this practice in our app. It's in our series guide for the month of August, Collecting Evidence of the Divine. And for those of you who are watching at home, you can do this practice at home. Just light a candle, put on some gentle music, incense, whatever helps you quiet. So I'm going to invite those of you who are here in the room, just close your eyes. If you want to lay down or get yourself comfy for sound bath, this is a good time to do that. And remember, all versions of getting comfy are allowed. Laying on the floor, stretching out across the chairs, putting your feet up, whatever you would like to do. And I'm going to invite you to first just find yourself where you are. And I do believe there are some extra mats up here if anybody wants to lay down. Find yourself where you are and find your breath in your body. And just begin to breathe through your nose, in and out, paying attention to your breath. You don't have to slow it down, just notice. And as you find your breath coming in and out, you can also notice any sensations you're having in your body. And if you're noticing your mind racing, just keep bringing your attention back to your breath. No judgment, no unkindness. Just return to your breath. And I invite you to reflect on who you may be invited to open to more lovingly in your life. This could be someone physically, a neighbor, a world leader, politician, a relative, Or this could be an aspect of yourself that you would like to invite more lovingly into your heart, into your life. Even if this is a person or a part of yourself that you find unacceptable. And I want you to center your attention on them fully. When your mind wanders to other things, I want you to come back to this person or this aspect of self, bringing your full attention to them. And as you do that, I want you to repeat the words, I welcome you as God. And repeat them for a while. I welcome you as God. I welcome you as God with feeling the love and genuine welcome. I welcome you as God. And take it a step further. Invite them into your home to join you at the dining table. Welcome them to the table. Welcome them into a corner of your heart where you can sit and chat for a bit. And welcome what they have to offer you. And receive the offering they have, whether it is a word or an idea or a feeling. And you're going to welcome that with an open heart. And so for the next 30 minutes or so, you're just going to continue to open your heart and continue to welcome whatever this is, whoever they are, and what they have to offer you.